What happens when your best friend becomes your worst nightmare? In 2006, a chilling case unfolded that shocked a community and left many questioning the depths of human capability for betrayal and violence. This is the story of Tiffany Hall, a woman whose close friendship with Jimella Tunstall turned into a horrific and tragic nightmare. From the bond they shared as lifelong friends to the unfathomable acts that shattered lives, this case reveals disturbing truths and challenges our understanding of trust and human behavior. Tiffany Hall and Jimella Tunstall were childhood friends who considered each other sisters, despite not being related by blood. Growing up together in East St. Louis, Illinois, they often found comfort and solidarity in their friendship, especially during difficult times. However, despite their deep bond, their lives took vastly different paths. Jimella Tunstall faced a troubled childhood, moving frequently between foster homes, which brought significant instability. But she was determined to rise above her circumstances. She became a mother to 3 children and worked tirelessly to create a stable life for her family. With aspirations for a brighter future, Jimella enrolled in community college with hopes of becoming a photographer. She was committed to giving her children the best life possible despite the challenges she faced. On the other hand, Tiffany Hall's journey was marked by turbulence from a young age. She encountered legal issues and had a strained relationship with her family, often clashing with household rules. Becoming a mother as a teenager, Tiffany struggled with parenting and faced allegations of abuse and neglect that led to her losing custody of her children for a time. Though she eventually regained custody, her life continued to be fraught with challenges and instability. Despite their contrasting life paths, the bond between Tiffany and Jimella appeared unbreakable. Yet the differences in how they navigated their struggles and hardships would ultimately lead to a devastating and unimaginable tragedy, shaking all who knew them and revealing one of the most shocking crime stories ever recorded. Throughout her life, Jimella Tunstall dedicated herself to building a stable and secure environment for her children. Growing up with a difficult childhood, including time spent moving from one foster home to another, Jimella was determined to create a different life for her own family. She focused her energy on raising her 3 children with love, care, and structure. Her commitment to their safety was evident in her daily routines. Jimella was known for personally walking her children to the school bus each morning, ensuring they started their day safely. Living in a challenging housing project where danger was a constant threat, she rarely allowed her children to play outside unsupervised, keeping a close watch whenever they did. Her goal was simple yet powerful: to provide her children with a nurturing environment and shield them from harm. Beyond her commitment to her children, Jimella harbored dreams for her own future. Determined to improve her life and set an example for her kids, she enrolled in community college with the hope of becoming a photographer. Despite facing numerous challenges, including financial constraints and the pressures of single parenthood, she remained focused on her goals. Jimella's strength and perseverance were a testament to her desire to create a better life for herself and her family. In stark contrast, Tiffany Hall's life was marked by turmoil and instability. Unlike Jimella's efforts to build a positive environment, Tiffany faced a path fraught with legal troubles, erratic behavior, and strained family relationships. Her challenges began early in life, with frequent clashes with her family that led to a fractured and tumultuous home life. As a teenager, Tiffany found herself in trouble with the law, earning a reputation as a juvenile delinquent. Her relationship with her mother was particularly strained, characterized by conflicts that escalated over time. These issues extended into adulthood as Tiffany continued to encounter legal problems and struggled to maintain stability. Tiffany's challenges extended to her role as a mother. She became a parent at a young age but faced significant difficulties, losing custody of her children after allegations of abuse and neglect surfaced. Although she eventually regained custody, her life remained chaotic and unpredictable. Unlike Jimella, who worked tirelessly to create a structured life, Tiffany seemed unable to escape the cycles of instability and conflict that defined her existence. Her struggles with the law and erratic behavior became increasingly severe, painting a stark contrast between 2 women who, despite their shared history and friendship, ultimately followed vastly different paths. This divergence would tragically culminate in a series of events that shocked and devastated everyone who knew them. In mid-September 2006, A horrifying series of events began with a shocking claim by Tiffany Hall. On September 16th, she called the police, stating that she had just given birth to a stillborn baby at Frank Holton State Park in East St. Louis, Illinois. She arrived at the hospital carrying the lifeless newborn, reportedly wrapped in a blanket. Her demeanor was unusual, and when hospital staff approached her for a routine examination, Tiffany refused to allow them to examine her or the body. This act alone aroused immediate suspicion among medical personnel, who found her story inconsistent and concerning. As hospital staff and authorities began to question her version of events, another sinister development was taking place. Jimella Tunstall, a 7 months pregnant mother of 3, along with her children, suddenly vanished. Jimella was well known and well liked within her community, so her sudden disappearance, along with that of her children, sparked widespread concern and anxiety among friends and neighbors. The search for Jimella and her children intensified as days passed without any sign of them. Family and friends became increasingly desperate, circulating photos and pleas for help while authorities ramped up their investigation. The community was gripped by fear and confusion as police struggled to piece together clues and make sense of the seemingly unrelated yet suspicious circumstances involving Tiffany's stillborn claim and Jimella's unexplained absence. During the early stages of the investigation, authorities focused on tracking down leads that could offer answers about Jimella's whereabouts. They spoke to neighbors, checked known locations where she might have gone, and attempted to piece together her last known movements. The urgency increased with every passing hour as the well-being of Jimella's 3 young children, Deandra, Ivan, and 10-month-old Janelle, hung in the balance. Yet there were no leads pointing toward their safety or their current location. The growing fears and suspicions around Jimella's disappearance eventually turned toward Tiffany Hall. As a close friend of Jimella and one of the last known people to have seen her, Tiffany came under increased scrutiny from investigators. However, it would take a horrifying confession and an intense search before the grim truth of what had occurred would be fully revealed, shocking not only the investigators, but the entire community that had rallied in hope for Jimella and her children's safe return. The shocking truth about Jimella Tunstall's fate began to unravel through a chilling and unexpected confession made by Tiffany Hall to her boyfriend, Keith Horn. Just a few days after claiming to have given birth to a stillborn baby, Tiffany revealed a horrifying secret to Keith. She admitted to cutting the unborn baby from Jimella's womb. The revelation sent Keith into a state of shock and disbelief. Though he struggled to comprehend the extent of Tiffany's actions, he quickly understood the severity and contacted law enforcement, triggering a frantic investigation. The confession led police to search near Tiffany Hall's residence in East St. Louis, Illinois. On September 21, 2006, their search ended in a grim discovery: the lifeless body of Jimella Tunstall. Her remains were found discarded in a weedy, vacant lot behind Tiffany's home. The condition of Jimella's body revealed a scene of unimaginable brutality and suffering. Investigators determined that Jimella had been struck repeatedly in the head with a blunt object, later identified as a table leg. The force of the blows was enough to render her unconscious, leaving her vulnerable and defenseless. Tiffany's actions didn't end there. While Jimella was incapacitated but still alive, Tiffany proceeded to bind her hands and feet with duct tape, ensuring that she could not move or resist further. As Jimella lay restrained, Tiffany made the horrific decision to use a pair of scissors to cut open her friend's abdomen in an attempt to extract the unborn baby. The crude and violent act was carried out with complete disregard for Jimella's life, leading to significant blood loss and eventually causing her death. Forensic evidence later confirmed that Jimella was still alive at the time of this gruesome procedure, making the act all the more tragic and chilling. The brutality and coldness of the crime left investigators, as well as the surrounding community, in utter disbelief. This was not merely a case of murder. It was a calculated and premeditated act of violence inflicted by someone Jimella had trusted deeply. The discovery of her body, combined with the details of her final moments, revealed the extent of betrayal and violence that Tiffany Hall was capable of. As the investigation continued, it became clear that this was only part of the horror. Authorities would soon find out that Jimella's 3 young children were also victims, leading to a heartbreaking and deeply disturbing conclusion to the case. The betrayal by a trusted friend and the grotesque nature of Tiffany's actions highlighted the depths of human cruelty and left a lasting mark on everyone touched by this tragedy. The most devastating chapter in the tragic case of Jimella Tunstall unfolded when authorities shifted their focus to finding her three children: 7-year-old Deandra, 2-year-old Ivan, and 10-month-old Janelle. And as the investigation progressed, hope that the children might still be found alive diminished. On September 22, 2006, police re-entered Jimella's apartment, hoping to gather any clues that could aid in locating the missing children. It was then that they were met with a horrific discovery, one that shocked even experienced investigators. Inside the apartment, authorities were confronted with a foul odor that hinted at the grim reality they were about to uncover. Upon further inspection, they found the bodies of Jimella's three young children in the most unthinkable of places. Two of the children were crammed inside a washing machine, while the third was found in the dryer. The gruesome scene left no doubt that their young lives had been ended in a manner that was both deliberate and cruel. The discovery not only confirmed their deaths, but highlighted the extent of Tiffany Hall's betrayal and brutality. According to the evidence and subsequent confessions, Tiffany Hall carried out the murders of Jimella's children shortly after taking their mother's life. On September 18th, just days after murdering Jimella, Tiffany returned to Jimella's apartment with the children. Posing as their caretaker, she used their trust and familiarity with her to gain access. What followed was a chilling series of actions that stripped away any sense of safety the children might have felt. Tiffany reportedly filled a bathtub with water, and one by one she drowned each of the children. Some accounts suggest that she may have given the children cough syrup to sedate them, making it easier for her to carry out the murders without resistance. The methodical nature of these actions, along with her ability to carry them out despite their helplessness, left a deep scar on everyone who learned of the details. After killing the children, Tiffany made an attempt to conceal her crimes by placing their bodies in the washing machine and dryer within Jimella's apartment. This choice to hide their lifeless bodies in the very home they had once shared with their mother added another layer of callousness to her crimes, underscoring the depths of her actions. Tiffany never provided a clear motive for why she killed Jimella's children, leaving investigators, the community, and the victims' loved ones grappling with a painful void of unanswered questions. While speculation has centered on possible factors such as mental illness, jealousy, or desperation, no explanation can fully account for the brutality and deliberate nature of her crimes. The community was left reeling not only from the loss of Jimella, but also from the senseless deaths of her three young children. The horror of their fate remains a painful reminder of how deeply trust can be betrayed and how quickly lives can be shattered. For the families, friends, and neighbors who knew and cared for Jimella and her children, the loss remains an unbearable burden, a tragic chapter in a story that will never be forgotten. Following the horrifying revelations of her crimes, Tiffany Hall was swiftly taken into custody and faced an array of serious charges, including the murders of Jimella Tunstall, her unborn child, and Jimella's three young children. Initially, Tiffany pleaded not guilty, but as the evidence against her mounted and the gruesome details of her actions came to light, she changed her plea. In June 2008, Tiffany Hall pleaded guilty to 5 counts of murder. As a result, she was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole, sparing her from the death penalty, but ensuring she would spend the rest of her life behind bars. However, the legal proceedings did not end with Tiffany's sentencing. Her defense team raised concerns regarding her mental health, asserting that her long-standing psychological issues may have influenced her actions. They cited her history of mental illness, which reportedly began during her childhood and included multiple hospitalizations. During her initial evaluation, Tiffany was deemed mentally fit to stand trial, but questions remained about her mental state at the time of the crime. Subsequent reports highlighted diagnoses such as psychotic disorder, post-traumatic stress disorder, schizophrenia, mood disorders, and mild intellectual disability. These diagnoses became the basis for her appeals and post-conviction petitions, which claimed that her legal representation failed to adequately address her mental health during her trial. Tiffany filed multiple appeals in an effort to have her conviction reviewed or her sentence reduced. In her petitions, she argued that her defense lawyers did not fully investigate her mental health history or present sufficient evidence to challenge her competency during the time of the crimes. One critical point raised was that some psychiatric evaluations were completed after she had already entered her guilty plea, potentially affecting the fairness of her trial. While most of Tiffany's appeals were denied, in 2020, she achieved a small victory when an appellate court that allowed her to continue pursuing post-conviction relief. This decision granted her the opportunity to raise further arguments about her mental health and the adequacy of her legal representation. Despite this limited success in the appeals process, Tiffany Hall remains incarcerated, serving her life sentence without the possibility of parole. For many, her imprisonment provides some measure of justice and closure. But for Jimella Tunstall's family and the community, the scars of her brutal actions will never fully heal. The aftermath of the brutal murders of Jimella Tunstall, her unborn child, and her 3 young children left a lasting impact on the community. The tragedy resonated deeply with the sheer brutality of the crimes, leaving friends, neighbors, and strangers reeling in shock and grief. In the days and weeks that followed the revelations, the community came together to mourn and support Jimella's surviving family members. The funerals for Jimella and her children were deeply emotional events. On September 29, 2006, a massive crowd of over 700 people gathered to pay their respects and honor the lives of Jimella and her children. Friends, family members, and even those who did not know the family personally attended the services to offer their condolences and support. The scale of the gathering was a testament to the profound impact the crime had on the community, bringing together people from different walks of life to grieve collectively. Stories were shared about Jimella's bright smile, her love for her children, and the joy they brought to her life. The children were remembered fondly for their unique personalities and playful spirits, offering moments of warmth amid the heartbreak. In addition to the outpouring of emotional support, the community rallied together to raise financial assistance for the family. Within just 3 days, over $330,000 was donated to cover funeral expenses and support Jimella's remaining loved ones. The generosity displayed during this dark time highlighted the compassion and resilience of the community in the face of overwhelming tragedy. The crime left a lasting impact, with many grappling with questions of trust, safety, and the potential darkness that can lurk beneath familiar faces. The betrayal and brutal violence perpetrated by Tiffany Hall, someone Jimella had considered a trusted friend, served as a chilling reminder of the unpredictability of human behavior. For years to come, the community would continue to reflect on the loss, honor the memories of Jimella and her children, and work to support each other in the wake of unimaginable pain. The case of Tiffany Hall raises numerous questions about her motivations, behavior, and the role mental health may have played in her actions. Speculation about Tiffany's mindset has been a central theme in attempts to understand what led her to commit such heinous acts against her friend Jimella Tunstall and her children. While her history of mental illness, including diagnoses of psychotic disorder, schizophrenia, mood disorders, and more, was presented during her legal proceedings, it remains unclear how much these factors influenced her crimes. Some argue that her actions were the result of deeply rooted psychological struggles and untreated trauma, while others see her as calculating and devoid of empathy, using her friendship with Jimella to carry out premeditated violence. The nature of Tiffany's acts, ranging from the calculated murder of a pregnant friend to the drowning of innocent children, forces society to grapple with the limits of human cruelty and the potential for betrayal in even the closest of relationships. Her decision to stage a stillbirth and mislead others with a fabricated story adds another layer of darkness and calculation to her crimes, sparking heated debates on the balance between punishment and rehabilitation in such cases. The public reaction to Tiffany's sentencing has been mixed but often unified in one sentiment: outrage and disbelief. Many question whether life in prison without the possibility of parole is enough for someone who committed such brutal and calculated murders. Others have argued that even the harshest legal consequences cannot undo the suffering caused or bring true justice to Jimella and her children. The question, is life in prison enough for what she did, lingers, reflecting a broader debate about justice, punishment, and society's response to extreme acts of violence. For some, her confinement offers a sense of safety and closure, while for others, it remains a painful reminder of lives lost too soon with no true resolution. The tragic case of Tiffany Hall and Jimella Tunstall underscores the profound complexity of human behavior and relationships. What began as a deep friendship rooted in mutual support and shared struggles ultimately devolved into a shocking betrayal in a series of horrifying acts. The case raises difficult questions about the capacity for violence within seemingly ordinary people, the impact of mental health struggles, and the thin line between trust and danger. As we reflect on this heartbreaking story, we are reminded of the darkness that can sometimes hide within the most unexpected places. To those who have followed this deep dive into the case, we invite you to engage with us further. Share your thoughts and reflections on what drives such unthinkable acts and what lessons we might learn from these tragic events. If you find this content meaningful and wish to explore more true crime stories and deep dives, please consider liking this video, leaving a comment with your thoughts, and subscribing to our channel. Your support helps us bring more stories to light and creates a space for thoughtful discussion around difficult and important topics. Thank you for joining.